Hello, today I want to talk about happiness because after all we all want to be happy. And there are various ways in which we can become happy. The most popular way I think is when our circumstances change for the better. When something happens that we're better off, we get a promotion at work or we get a new car or whatever, that makes us very happy. Albeit for a limited period of time. We can be happy when we think of past experiences, things that have happened to us that have been particularly enjoyable. And there is another way, I think a much more profound and important way in which we can achieve happiness, and that I will mention towards the end. Now, I think it's fair to say that most people have within them a sort of natural level of happiness. In other words, there are people who are always happy. People when you meet them, you're always pleased to see them. They've very often got a nice sense of humour and so on. And at the same time, there are people who are as miserable as sin, and who when you say to them, "How are you?" they'll spend half an hour telling you about all their misfortunes and how life has been so difficult for them and so on. But no matter what your natural level of happiness is, we're all searching for happiness. We're all craving for the next thing that's going to make us happy, and the things that make us happy above all are in the society we're living in at the moment are things. It's a new phone, it's a new car, new house, it's new stuff. And we're constantly being advertised to, with being told that get these trainers and they're fantastic, and get this watch, it's fantastic, and we're having stuff thrown at us all the time by advertisers, and there are saying there is this belief that if you can just get this stuff, that it will make you happy, and of course very often it does. But it's so temporary. You get a new phone, and first 2 or 3 days it's fascinating, and then by the end of the week you got used to it and forgotten the old one. And it's the same with the car. You get a new car and it's fantastic for a week or two, and then after that, everybody's seen it, and you've got used to drive it, and you forget all about it, and it's just the same as driving any other car. And so this constant chasing of stuff and experiences as well, holidays and restaurants and so on, stuff which you can enjoy, which will bring pleasure for a short while, but really it's just another fix, and we're all somehow or other addicted to getting more stuff, and the size of the thing you're acquiring will determine to a certain extent just how much happiness or how long the happiness lasts for. For example, if you're walking along the street, you find a £20 note, well, that'll make you very happy indeed for a day. A day later, you've spent it and you've forgotten all about it. But if you win the lottery and it changes your life, then forevermore you'll be able to buy anything you want to buy. Sooner or later you get used to this new status, and sooner or later your happiness level will almost certainly return to where it was before. And we've heard countless stories of people who won the lottery and have ended up being thoroughly miserable. Likewise, there is no evidence whatsoever that people who've got a lot of money, a lot of possessions, are any happier than people who've got nothing. And we see this all the time. There's no evidence that all these incredibly rich people, all these people who are so obsessed with getting richer and richer, that they're any happier than people who've got nothing. Indeed, I remember going to Ethiopia a few years ago, and I met somebody who was doing charity work in one of the slums there, and I accompanied her to the slum, and I've never seen such just dreadful conditions that no human being should live in. Children running around with bare feet and all the rest of it, and yet I had never seen such happy and smiling people in my life. Not saying for a moment that the way they were living was acceptable, and that it wasn't really important to improve their conditions, but they were perfectly happy. They weren't sat around crying and moaning about the situation any more than very rich people are constantly celebrating their wealth. And so I think this, knowing that getting stuff brings happiness, is kind of a drug, and it's very difficult to see how. We've got the influence of social media now, and people travelling and so on, and this constant constant temptation, this it being displayed before you all the time, that if you've got this, you'll be happier, and people think, yes, if I can just get that, I'd be happier. He's just a drug. Now, there is a very, very interesting study about all this, about happiness and so on. It was carried out by Harvard University. It's called Harvard Study of Adult Development. Started in 1938. And what they did, they interviewed 760 odd people, and half of them were students of Harvard University, and half of them were people from tenements, from really poor areas nearby. And you might have heard of this study, but it is fascinating. What they did, they interviewed them thoroughly, and they did a huge amount of research. And every year, every couple of years, every 5 years, they'd go back and they would interview not only the people taking part, also their relatives, their families, their children, and people they work with, everything. So they knew a great deal about these people. And the idea was to measure them throughout their lives to see which ones became happiest, which ones achieved happiness, whether the ones who started off wealthy and were wealthy and so on did better and so on. And this has gone on. I mean, I must be coming to an end now, because the original people will have all died by now, or be close to dying. But what they discovered, and this is the fascinating thing, is that money had no effect whatsoever on happiness. In fact, on the contrary, people who really sort of worked like hell and been under great pressure all their lives tended to die earlier. And the people who lived longest, who were healthiest and had the happiest lives, were people who had close personal relations. And it was all friends and family. And people had support, because somehow or other having this support meant that you were free of stress, because you knew there was always somebody who was going to support you. And this is very, very interesting, and it's it does show that this constant pursuit that we're all on, this mad rush to try and get stuff, trying to improve our visible status in life, it's madness. It's just the way things are. It's possible, of course, with AI, with when millions and millions and millions of people are going to be unemployed, that things will change, and that personal relationships will matter again. Because I think what's happened recently, probably social media probably has something to do with this. The fact that we don't associate with friends as much as we used to, and children don't mix as much as they used to, and people are becoming lonelier and lonelier, because we've all got infinite distraction and entertainment on our phones and on our screens and so on. But I think that study is really very, very interesting, and I think it's very difficult. It's difficult to get out of the rat race or to opt out of the race. But I think there are people who are doing it. There are people who are just going off and living very modestly somewhere in the countryside and so on. And I'm sure they probably be quite happy, and a lot happier than people who are involved in just working all hours that God sends, and being stressed about whether they're not going to get promotion, and stressed about work colleagues and all the rest of it. And the stress, as we all know, stress is bad for your health. It's bad for your mental and physical health, and not good at all. So anyway, that's what I thought about it all, and I hope you found that of some interest, and we'll see. I mean, things are going to change extremely quickly and dramatically in the next few years, and so we'll see. Anyway, if you watched this far, thank you very much indeed. If you haven't already done so, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe and maybe click the bell. And so until next time, thank you for watching, and bye for now.